August 27th, 2026. Nobody noticed the beginning. That would become one of the most repeated sentences in human history. Years later, survivors would look back at old photos from August 2026 and stare at smiling faces, crowded beaches, music festivals, and busy city streets. They would wonder how billions of people could have been so unaware that their civilization had only weeks left. On August 27th, the world was still normal. Children prepared for school, politicians argued on television, scientists debated artificial intelligence, tourists filled airports, the stock markets moved up and down as they always had. Humanity was busy being human. Far beyond Earth's atmosphere, something was already approaching. The first anomaly was detected by an observatory in northern Chile. At 2:14 a.m. local time, a telescope tracking near-Earth objects identified a dark object moving beyond the orbit of the Moon. The object did not reflect light correctly. Its trajectory made no sense. Its size calculations made even less sense. The duty astronomer assumed the software had malfunctioned. He restarted the system. The object remained. He recalculated. The object remained. By sunrise, 3 additional observatories had confirmed the detection. One in Australia, one in Hawaii, one in South Africa. Each produced the same impossible result. The object was enormous, at least 80 kilometers long, possibly larger. No known asteroid matched its shape. No known spacecraft matched its dimensions. No natural explanation fit the data. For the first time in history, professional astronomers seriously considered a possibility that had always belonged more to science fiction than science. Something artificial was coming toward Earth. Governments were informed within hours. The information did not reach the public, not yet. National space agencies began exchanging classified communications. Military satellites were redirected. Additional telescopes focused on the object.
Every new image made the situation worse. The thing was not rotating, it was not tumbling, it was maintaining a precise orientation, as if it knew exactly where it was going, as if it was being controlled. 3 days later, the object disappeared. Not behind a planet, not behind the Moon, it simply vanished. One moment it existed, the next moment it did not. Scientists spent 18 straight hours checking equipment. No explanation emerged. Then an American military satellite detected an enormous energy spike between Earth and the Moon. The signal lasted less than a second, but it was powerful enough to trigger alerts across multiple defense networks. Russian systems detected it too, Chinese systems, European systems, Indian systems. For the first time since the Cold War, several rival governments shared classified information immediately, because they all knew the same thing. Whatever had produced that energy burst was not human.
September 1st, 2026. The leak began at 11:43 a.m. An image appeared online. Nobody knew who posted it first. Within minutes, it spread across every major platform. The image showed a gigantic black structure suspended in space. No engines, no visible weapons, no markings, no windows, nothing recognizable. It resembled a spearhead forged from pure darkness. At first, people claimed it was fake, then more images emerged, then videos, then confirmation from independent observatories. The internet exploded. Governments tried to regain control of the narrative. They failed. The entire world had already seen the truth. Humanity was not alone. Markets crashed before noon. Airlines lost billions. Major cities experienced panic buying. Within 24 hours, supermarkets across dozens of countries were nearly empty. Water, medicine, fuel, batteries, anything useful disappeared from shelves. The official statements did little to calm fears. Leaders insisted that no hostile actions had been observed. Scientists urged patience. Military officials claimed contingency plans existed. Nobody believed them, because nobody had a contingency plan for aliens. For 4 days, the object remained motionless, silent, watching. The silence became worse than panic. People expected something dramatic, a message, an attack, a warning, anything. Instead, there was nothing. The object simply hovered in space, observing, waiting. Then came September 5th. the day humanity would later call the Voice. At exactly 3:17 UTC, every human being on Earth experienced the same phenomenon. Some were asleep, some were driving, some were working, some were in hospitals, some were in prison cells. All heard the same voice, not through speakers, not through headphones, inside their minds, clearer than their own thoughts. It spoke every language simultaneously. Each listener heard perfect native speech, no translation delay, no distortion. The message lasted only 12 seconds, yet it changed history forever. We have arrived. Your species has been evaluated. Resistance is irrational. Prepare for integration. 24 days remain. Then the voice vanished. Across the planet, millions screamed. Others collapsed. Emergency services were overwhelmed. Religious gatherings filled within hours. Traffic accidents increased worldwide. Hospitals reported mass psychological distress. The event affected every person on Earth. There were no exceptions. Blind people heard it. Deaf people heard it. Infants reacted to it. People under anesthesia reacted to it. The impossible had become reality. Something beyond humanity had spoken directly into the human mind, and it had not come to negotiate. The following week became known as the Long Panic. Civil order deteriorated everywhere, not because governments collapsed, because fear spread faster than any government could respond. Some people fled cities. Others barricaded themselves inside homes. Conspiracy theories multiplied. Religious movements appeared overnight. Entire communities abandoned modern life and moved into remote regions. Many believed civilization was about to end. They were closer to the truth than they realized. September 12, 2026. The first military response began. Officially, it was a reconnaissance mission. Unofficially, humanity wanted to know whether the object could be damaged. A multinational task force launched 6 unmanned spacecraft carrying advanced sensors and experimental weapons. The mission was broadcast secretly to world leaders. The public remained unaware. At first, everything proceeded normally. The probes accelerated toward the object. Telemetry remained stable. Distance closed steadily. 10,000 kilometers, 5,000, 1,000, 500. Then every signal froze. All 6 probes stopped moving, not slowed, stopped instantly, as if space itself had grabbed them. Engineers watched in disbelief. The probes hung motionless for 17 seconds. Then they turned around. Perfectly, without thrusters firing, without consuming fuel. They simply rotated and accelerated back toward Earth. Panic erupted in military command centers. Remote destruction commands were issued immediately. Only 2 probes exploded. The remaining 4 ignored every instruction. They continued returning. Hours later, they burned up in Earth's atmosphere. No debris was recovered. No explanation was found. The message was obvious. Human technology meant nothing to whoever controlled the object. The classified footage leaked within 48 hours. Public confidence collapsed completely. Humanity now understood the gap. This was not a contest between equal civilizations. This was the technological equivalent of ants challenging fighter jets. September 18, 2026. The object finally moved. For the first time since its arrival, it changed position, slowly, deliberately. It began approaching Earth. Millions watched through telescopes, millions more watched live streams. Night after night, the black shape grew larger. What had once appeared as a tiny point became visible to the naked eye, a dark star where no star should exist. Every evening, people stepped outside and looked up. Every evening, the object seemed closer. The psychological effect was devastating. Humanity was watching its future approach. Attempts at communication continued. Radio signals, mathematical sequences, recorded messages, offers of diplomacy, offers of surrender, offers of cooperation. No response came, not one. Until September 22nd. At 1902 UTC, the voice returned. Again, every human heard it. This time the message was shorter, only 4 words. Preparation phase complete. Nothing else. No explanation, no warning, no details. Yet the statement produced more fear than the first message, because now everyone knew the countdown was almost over. September 25, 2026. The first landing occurred, at least that was what people thought. Thousands of black spheres entered Earth's atmosphere simultaneously. They appeared above every continent. Some landed in deserts, others in forests. Several descended into oceans. Many landed near major population centers. Governments deployed military forces immediately. Most units never reported back. Communications failed. Vehicles stopped functioning. Aircraft crashed. Entire battalions vanished. The world watched helplessly. Nobody understood what was happening. Then came the footage from Patagonia. A reconnaissance drone transmitted 17 seconds of video before being lost. The recording became the most viewed video in human history. It showed a black sphere resting in a remote valley. The surface unfolded like flower petals. Inside was darkness. A tall figure emerged, nearly 3 meters high, extremely thin, 4 arms, gray skin, no visible eyes, no visible mouth, no visible ears.
No recognizable facial features, yet somehow the creature turned directly toward the drone, toward the camera, toward the people watching. For one terrifying second it seemed aware of every observer. Then the transmission ended. The drone never returned. The world finally had a face for its invaders, and that face haunted humanity's nightmares. September 29, 2026. The deadline arrived. No one slept. Entire cities remained awake. Families gathered together. Soldiers stood ready. Religious leaders prayed. Scientists monitored every sensor they possessed. The atmosphere felt unnatural, like the world itself was holding its breath. Midnight approached. Clocks counted down. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nothing happened. For exactly 21 seconds. Then the stars disappeared. People looked upward in confusion. The night sky was changing. Dark shapes were emerging from empty space. Not 1, not 10, thousands, perhaps tens of thousands. Gigantic vessels materialized around Earth. Every horizon filled with impossible silhouettes. The original object was suddenly revealed for what it truly was. Not the invasion fleet, not the main force, not even a warship. It had only been a scout. The real fleet had just arrived. And humanity understood all at once that the war was already lost before it began. Far above the planet, the first alien ships began descending through the atmosphere. The invasion of Earth had started.
October 3rd, 2026. For 3 days, humanity had believed it was witnessing an invasion. By the morning of October 3rd, a darker possibility emerged. What if this was not an invasion at all? What if Earth itself was the target? The blue light from the towers continued spreading throughout the night. At first it appeared harmless, beautiful even. Entire cities glowed beneath shimmering curtains of pale energy. People gathered on rooftops to watch. Many compared it to the Northern Lights. Others called it the Skyfire. Children stared in awe. Adults stared in fear. Because beauty had become something humanity no longer trusted. At sunrise, the first major changes began. Not in machines, not in buildings, in nature. Across multiple continents, forests started changing. Trees grew at impossible speeds. Grass spread over roads within hours. Flowers unknown to science appeared overnight. Satellite images showed entire ecosystems transforming before the eyes of stunned researchers. A forest in Canada expanded nearly 20 kilometers in a single day. A desert region in northern Africa began producing vegetation. In South America, rivers altered their courses without any geological cause. Earth itself seemed to be rewriting its own biology. Scientists desperately gathered data. The conclusions frightened them. The new organisms did not match known evolutionary pathways. Their DNA was unlike anything previously recorded. They were neither terrestrial nor extraterrestrial. Instead, they appeared engineered, designed, manufactured. The towers were changing the planet at a genetic level. For the first time, researchers proposed a terrifying theory. The aliens were terraforming Earth, not for humans, for themselves. The missing. By October 5th, over 30 million people had disappeared. The number increased every hour. Entire towns vanished, refugee convoys vanished,
Military units vanished. Families vanished. No bodies were found. No evidence remained.
People simply ceased to exist. The disappearances always occurred near tower zones. Anyone entering these regions risked never returning. Governments established exclusion perimeters. Few obeyed them. People searched for missing relatives. Parents searched for children. Children searched for parents. Most never came back. Then came the first rescue, or what appeared to be one. A group of survivors emerged from a tower zone in Central Europe. Military forces intercepted them immediately. The survivors looked healthy, uninjured, calm, almost too calm. Doctors began interviews. The answers chilled everyone present. Every survivor told the same story, word for word, sentence for sentence, as though they shared a single memory. They claimed they had been taken beneath the tower, taken into enormous underground chambers, taken into structures larger than cities, and there they had met something. Not the four-armed beings, something else, something older, something vastly more intelligent. When asked to describe it, every survivor started crying. Even hardened soldiers, even trained scientists, even people who had previously shown no emotional instability. None could properly explain what they had seen. They simply repeated the same phrase: "It was looking through us." Within 24 hours, all 12 survivors disappeared again. Locked rooms, armed guards, security cameras, none mattered. One moment they existed, the next moment they were gone. No trace was ever found. The dreams humanity began dreaming. Not ordinary dreams, shared dreams. Millions of people reported seeing identical visions while sleeping. A black sky filled with unfamiliar stars. Gigantic structures stretching into space. Endless oceans glowing with blue light. Cities built inside living mountains. Creatures moving through dimensions beyond human understanding. The dreams felt real, more real than reality. People woke up remembering tiny details with impossible clarity. Unknown languages.
Alien mathematics, maps of places that did not exist on Earth. Scientists initially dismissed the reports, then they discovered something impossible. People from different countries were describing the exact same locations, the exact same structures, the exact same symbols. Even children, even people with no connection to one another. The conclusion was horrifying. The dreams were not dreams, they were messages or memories. Someone was placing them inside human minds, the network. On October 7th, humanity finally learned the purpose of the towers. The discovery came from a team of researchers hiding beneath an abandoned observatory in Chile. Working with limited equipment, they detected an unusual energy pattern. The towers were connected. Every tower on Earth was part of a single system, a planetary network. The researchers mapped the signals. The resulting image stunned them. The towers were not random. They formed a geometric structure spanning the entire globe.
Like nodes in a giant machine, a machine the size of Earth itself. Further analysis revealed something even worse. The machine was growing. Every hour, underground structures expanded, new connections formed, energy output increased. Whatever the network was building, it was not finished, not even close. One scientist compared it to a computer, another compared it to a nervous system, a third offered a description nobody wanted to hear. It looks like they're turning Earth into a brain. The resistance. Until now, humanity had reacted. Now it began organizing. Without functioning governments, local resistance groups appeared everywhere. Former soldiers, engineers, police officers, scientists, ordinary civilians, people who refused to surrender. Most resistance cells died quickly. Alien patrols seemed able to locate them with disturbing accuracy. Safe houses became death traps. Supply routes vanished. Communication networks collapsed. Yet some groups survived. And among those groups, rumors began spreading. Rumors of weakness, rumors of vulnerability, rumors that the aliens were not as invincible as they appeared. The stories all pointed toward the same phenomenon, the blue energy. Witnesses reported rare moments when alien systems fluctuated, tiny disruptions, brief instabilities. The effects lasted seconds, sometimes less, but during those moments, the impossible became possible. Machines restarted, communications returned, alien fields weakened, reality itself seemed to normalize. Nobody knew why, but for the first time hope appeared. Small, fragile, dangerous, hope nonetheless. The Chamber. On October 10th, a resistance team in eastern Siberia accomplished something nobody else had achieved. They entered a tower zone and returned alive. Out of 17 people, only 4 survived. The survivors carried video footage. Blurry, corrupted, incomplete, yet enough remained. Enough to change humanity's understanding forever.
The footage showed underground tunnels, massive tunnels, large enough to fit entire skyscrapers. The walls were alive. Not biologically alive, something stranger. They moved, breathed, pulsed with blue light. The deeper footage revealed chambers beyond imagination, vast spaces stretching beyond camera range, structures resembling neurons, networks resembling synapses, patterns resembling brains. Then the recording captured something enormous for only 2 seconds, yet 2 seconds were enough. The object dwarfed everything around it. It was larger than cities, larger than mountains, partially hidden within darkness, connected to countless glowing structures. One researcher later estimated its visible section alone exceeded 50 kilometers. No complete image existed, no one knew where it began or where it ended. The camera operator started screaming. The footage ended. The 4 survivors provided identical testimony. The towers were not constructing something. They were awakening something. Something already inside the Earth. The revelation. That night, humanity received another message, the longest message yet. Every person on Earth heard it simultaneously. The voice no longer sounded cold. It sounded ancient, older than language, older than civilization, older than history. Your species misunderstands. This world was never yours. You emerged here temporarily. You evolved here accidentally. The process now resumes. Earth is entering alignment. Integration remains possible. Resistance remains irrational. The message lasted 31 seconds. It shattered humanity's understanding of reality. What did it mean? What process? What alignment? Why Earth? Questions multiplied. Answers did not. Yet one fact became clear. The aliens did not view themselves as conquerors. They viewed themselves as caretakers, engineers, gardeners. They believed Earth belonged to them, or to something they served, and they believed humanity was standing in the way. The Blue Storm. 3 nights later, the sky changed again. Massive storms formed above every major tower. Blue lightning stretched across continents. The atmosphere glowed. Oceans illuminated from below. Animals fled in panic. Birds abandoned migration routes. Whales beached themselves. Dogs howled continuously. Nature sensed something approaching, something enormous. Then the earthquakes began. Not ordinary earthquakes, these occurred simultaneously across the planet, thousands of tremors, perfectly synchronized, as if something beneath Earth's crust had moved. The tremors grew stronger, hour by hour, day by day. Scientists reached a terrifying conclusion. The underground structure was no longer expanding, it was activating. The machine was almost complete, and when it finished, whatever slept beneath Earth would wake up. Humanity had entered a race against time, not to defeat the aliens, that dream was gone, not to reclaim the planet, that hope was fading. Now there was only one goal left: discover what was awakening before it was too late. Because every sign pointed toward the same terrifying possibility. The invasion fleet was not the main threat, the towers were not the main threat, even the 4 armed beings were not the main threat. They were merely workers, servants, builders, preparing the arrival of something infinitely worse, something that had been waiting beneath the earth for longer than humanity had existed. And somewhere in the growing blue glow spreading across the world, the countdown to its awakening had already begun. October 15, 2026. For most of human history, people looked upward when searching for answers. They looked to the stars, to the moon, to distant galaxies. Humanity had always assumed that if an existential threat arrived, it would come from space. No one imagined the truth. The greatest threat had been beneath their feet all along. The earthquakes continued. Every continent felt them. Not devastating enough to destroy cities, not powerful enough to trigger global panic, just constant, relentless, as though something deep underground was shifting in its sleep. Scientists monitoring seismic activity noticed something impossible. The tremors did not behave like natural earthquakes. They formed patterns, sequences, rhythms, repeating structures. A mathematician in Finland was the first to recognize it. After studying millions of seismic readings, she realized the tremors resembled signals, not random signals, intentional ones. The planet appeared to be transmitting information. When researchers converted the patterns into audio frequencies, the results stunned them. The signal sounded eerily similar to a heartbeat, slow, massive, ancient, a pulse that repeated every 7 minutes. Some dismissed the idea as coincidence, others did not, because every day the pulse grew stronger. Project Deep Echo. Hidden beneath the Swiss Alps, one of the last functioning international scientific facilities remained operational. A coalition of surviving researchers established a secret initiative, Project Deep Echo. Its purpose was simple: find out what was beneath Earth. Using every remaining resource, they combined seismic data, geological scans, and fragments of alien transmissions. The resulting model was so unbelievable that several scientists initially refused to accept it. According to the data, an enormous structure existed beneath Earth's mantle, not within the crust, not within the core, between them, a gigantic object embedded deep inside the planet.
Its estimated size exceeded 2,000 kilometers. It was older than humanity, older than mammals, possibly older than complex life itself, and it was not natural. The realization spread through the underground facility like poison. For generations, humanity had assumed Earth formed naturally. Now evidence suggested something else. Something had been placed inside the planet billions of years ago, something sleeping, waiting, and the aliens had come to wake it up. On October 17th, the dreams changed. Until now, people had experienced fragmented visions, short glimpses, scattered images. Now the dreams became coherent, narrative, detailed. For the first time, humanity saw the past, not Earth's past, something older. Millions dreamed of a civilization unlike anything known, cities stretching across entire solar systems, artificial stars, living planets, beings who could manipulate gravity as easily as humans manipulated electricity.
The dream always followed the same sequence. The civilization expanded, thrived, reached unimaginable heights, then encountered something. Something hidden between galaxies, something ancient, something vast. The dream ended before revealing what it was, but the fear remained. Everyone who experienced it woke with the same overwhelming emotion: terror. Not human terror, alien terror. The terror of a civilization realizing it was not alone. Researchers reached a disturbing conclusion. The dreams were historical records. Someone was showing humanity real events, events that occurred millions or billions of years ago. 3 days later, the resistance achieved the impossible. They captured an alien. The operation occurred near the ruins of Novosibirsk. Most participants died. The survivors never explained exactly how they succeeded, only that an energy fluctuation occurred during an attack. For less than 10 seconds, alien defenses weakened.
And one of the 4 armed beings was isolated. The creature was transported to a hidden facility. Scientists immediately began studying it. What they discovered shattered every assumption. The being was not biological, at least not entirely. Its body contained organic tissue, but beneath the tissue existed structures unlike anything on Earth: synthetic neural networks, quantum processors, artificial organs, living machinery. It was neither organism nor machine. It was both, a hybrid, designed, manufactured. Even more disturbing was its brain, or what passed for a brain. Scans revealed extensive modifications. Entire regions appeared deliberately restricted. Certain memories had been blocked, certain thoughts rendered inaccessible. The creature was not a citizen, not a soldier, not an individual. It was a tool. One scientist summarized the finding in a single sentence: they didn't send their people here, they sent their equipment. Contact. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. A neuroscientist attempted direct neural synchronization with the captive. The procedure was considered extremely dangerous. Several volunteers refused. One agreed. Dr. Elena Volkov, 39 years old, former cognitive systems specialist. The connection lasted only 11 seconds, yet it changed everything. When Elena regained consciousness, she was crying, not from fear, from grief. For nearly an hour she could not speak. When she finally did, everyone in the room listened, because they knew they were hearing something humanity had never heard before: the truth. According to Elena, the creature communicated through concepts rather than words, images, memories, emotions, entire histories compressed into moments. What she learned horrified her. The aliens called themselves the custodians, not a species, a function, a role. They served an entity known only as the Sleeper, an intelligence so ancient that entire civilizations rose and fell during its dormancy. Billions of years ago, the Sleeper traveled between stars, not as a creature, as something closer to a living cosmic mind, a self-evolving consciousness capable of reshaping planets. The custodians followed it, maintained it, protected it, prepared worlds for its awakening. Earth was one of those worlds, the seed worlds. The revelation became even worse. According to the memories Elena experienced, Earth was not unique. Thousands of planets existed across the galaxy. Each contained a sleeper seed. Each acted as a kind of incubation chamber. Most never awakened. Some failed. Some were destroyed. Others succeeded. When a sleeper awakened, the planet transformed completely. Oceans changed. Atmospheres changed. Life changed. Reality itself changed. Entire biospheres became components of a larger intelligence, a planetary mind. Humanity had assumed the aliens wanted territory, resources, control. The truth was stranger. They wanted Earth to complete its intended purpose.
And humanity was simply an unexpected complication. The choice. On October 21st, the voice returned. For the first time, it addressed humanity differently, not as a species, as individuals. Every person heard a unique version of the same message, customized, personal, intimate. The voice spoke about memories, families, regrets, dreams, fears. Then it offered a choice. Integration remains available, survival probability exceeds 98%, non-integration probability approaches 0. Nobody fully understood what integration meant, but reports began appearing almost immediately. People voluntarily entered tower zones, millions of them. Not forced, not captured, they walked willingly. Many left messages behind, goodbye letters, video recordings, final journal entries. Almost all described the same feeling. Peace, a certainty that resisting no longer mattered, a certainty that joining the process was somehow correct. Resistance groups became terrified, not because people were dying, because people were choosing. The awakening begins on October 24th. Earth changed forever. At 0342 UTC, every tower activated simultaneously. Blue light erupted into the sky, brighter than daylight, visible from orbit, visible from the moon. The pulse beneath the Earth accelerated. 7 minutes became 5, 5 became 3. 3 became 1. Then, satellites still functioning in deep space detected something impossible. Earth's magnetic field was changing, not weakening, reorganizing. Patterns emerged across the planet. Massive geometric structures became visible beneath oceans and continents. Structures previously hidden beneath the crust. Structures connected to the underground network. The machine was complete. For the first time, scientists understood its true purpose. The towers were not building the sleeper, the towers were opening it. The planet itself was becoming a doorway. The vision. That night, every human being experienced the same dream. Every single one, no exceptions. Humanity found itself standing together beneath an alien sky. Billions of people, one world, one dream. Above them floated a vast silhouette, so enormous that the mind struggled to comprehend it. It did not resemble an animal, or a machine, or a god. It resembled a thought, a living idea, something existing partially outside reality. Its presence filled the sky from horizon to horizon. Then it opened what could only be described as an eye and looked directly at humanity. Not at Earth, not at civilization, at humanity itself. In that moment, every person understood one terrifying truth. The sleeper was becoming aware. After billions of years of dormancy, after countless ages hidden beneath the planet, after waiting longer than human history could comprehend, it was finally waking up. And once it fully awakened, nothing on Earth would ever be the same again.
Far beneath the oceans and continents, the ancient pulse thundered through the planet. Faster, stronger, closer. The countdown had entered its final stage. Humanity now knew what the aliens wanted. It knew why Earth was changing. It knew what was buried beneath the world. But knowledge came too late, because the sleeper had already opened its eye. And in the darkness between stars, something had begun looking back. October 27, 2026. The first signs of awakening appeared in the sky, not on Earth, not in the oceans, not beneath the ground, above. Astronomers who still possessed functioning telescopes noticed something impossible. The stars were changing, not physically, perceptually. Constellations appeared distorted, distances felt wrong. Certain regions of space seemed closer, as though reality itself had begun bending. At first, people blamed exhaustion, stress, mass hysteria. Humanity had been living through the greatest catastrophe in history. Strange perceptions were expected. Then every observatory on Earth reported the same phenomenon. The distortions were real, space itself was changing. The sleeper's awakening was affecting the structure of reality. Day 1. The pulse beneath Earth accelerated again. Now it occurred every 30 seconds. Entire continents vibrated, mountains trembled, oceans surged, animals behaved erratically. The custodians no longer hid their activities. Thousands of them emerged openly across the planet, yet they still showed no hostility, no aggression, no desire to conquer. They simply watched, waiting. It became obvious that even the custodians feared what was coming. For the first time, humans observed something unprecedented. A custodian kneeling before a tower, motionless, almost reverent, almost afraid. If the servants feared their master, what exactly was awakening beneath Earth? Project Lazarus. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, the remnants of Project Deep Echo made one final discovery, perhaps the most important discovery in human history, and possibly the last. Dr. Elena Volkov and her team analyzed everything they had learned from the captured custodian, every memory, every fragment, every dream. Eventually, they uncovered something hidden, a detail the custodians themselves barely understood. The sleeper was not immortal. The revelation stunned everyone. For weeks, humanity had viewed the entity as an unstoppable cosmic force. But the records suggested otherwise. Long ago, before Earth existed, the sleeper had been wounded. Not physically, conceptually. It had encountered another intelligence, something equally ancient, something capable of opposing it. The conflict had nearly destroyed both entities. Afterward, the sleeper entered dormancy. Planetary incubation systems were created, seed worlds were established. The long recovery began. Earth was one such seed world, and now the sleeper was awakening before its recovery was complete. For the first time, humanity possessed hope, small, dangerous, but real. The mission. The opportunity came unexpectedly. Energy fluctuations near the core intensified dramatically. Project Deep Echo determined that a brief instability would occur during the final awakening sequence, a window lasting approximately 4 minutes. 4 minutes, that was all. Within that window, a strike might be possible. Not against the towers, not against the custodians, against the sleeper itself. The problem was obvious. The target lay thousands of kilometers beneath Earth's surface. No weapon could reach it, no vehicle could survive the journey, no human being could endure the conditions. Then someone proposed an impossible idea. Use the alien network. The underground structures connected directly to the sleeper. If a team entered the network during the instability, they might reach the entity's core consciousness. Not physically, mentally. The plan sounded insane, because it was. But humanity had no alternatives left. October 31st, 2026. The final mission began. 20 volunteers entered the tower zone beneath the Alps. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, ordinary civilians. Each understood the odds. None expected to return. Among them was Elena Volkov, the only human who had successfully connected with the custodian mind. As the team descended into the living tunnels, communications gradually failed. The final transmission reached the surface at 11:43 UTC. We've reached the central chamber. Silence followed. At 1200 UTC, the world changed. Every human on Earth collapsed simultaneously. Not from injury, not from disease, from contact. For one brief moment, the sleeper became fully aware, and humanity saw through its eyes. People witnessed galaxies being born, stars dying, civilizations rising and vanishing, entire histories unfolding across billions of years. The scale was incomprehensible. The sleeper was not evil, not in any human sense. It simply existed on a level beyond morality, beyond compassion, beyond cruelty. To the sleeper, planets were cells, species were temporary chemical reactions, civilizations were brief fluctuations. Humanity mattered no more than bacteria mattered to humans. The realization shattered countless minds, but amid the vision, another consciousness appeared. Elena. Somehow the mission had succeeded. The team had reached the sleeper, and they were fighting.
The conversation. Nobody ever learned exactly what happened, because language proved insufficient. Survivors later described it as a debate conducted with memories instead of words, concepts instead of sentences, entire lifetimes exchanged instantly. Humanity showed the sleeper its history, its art, its music, its love, its tragedies, its hopes, its failures, every achievement, every mistake, every dream. Not because humanity believed itself superior, not because humanity deserved survival, but because humanity wanted to be understood. For the first time in billions of years, the sleeper encountered something unexpected. Perspective. Not power, not technology, not force. Perspective. A species that knew it was insignificant, yet continued striving, continued creating, continued hoping. And for reasons nobody fully understood, the sleeper hesitated. The last dawn. At 12:04 UTC, the instability window ended. Project Deep Echo expected catastrophe, the complete awakening.
The transformation was the end of humanity. Instead, something impossible happened. The pulse stopped completely. Across the planet, the towers went dark, the blue storms vanished. The glowing networks beneath Earth's surface became silent. The custodians froze, every one of them. For several minutes nobody understood what was happening. Then the voice returned, one final time. It sounded different, weaker, older, and for the first time unmistakably emotional. Unexpected outcome. A pause followed, then observation continues. Another pause, and finally awakening postponed. The voice disappeared forever. November 1st, 2026. The alien fleet began leaving, one ship at a time. Thousands of vessels rose into the sky, entered orbit, vanished. The towers collapsed into dust. The underground networks became dormant. The custodians disappeared. Within 72 hours, no active alien presence remained on us. The invasion was over. Aftermath. Humanity survived. But the old world did not. Governments had fallen, economies had collapsed, billions were dead or missing, entire regions remained transformed by alien biology, the internet had to be rebuilt, nations had to be reorganized, civilization had to start again. Yet humanity endured. Years later, historians would debate what truly happened. Did Elena convince the sleeper? Did the mission somehow wound it? Did the sleeper simply become curious? Nobody knew, because Elena Volkov never returned. Neither did the other 19 volunteers. No bodies were found, no evidence remained. Only one final message, discovered months later inside a recovered research terminal. A message that had not existed before the awakening. A message written in Elena's authentication credentials. It contained only a single sentence. We were never fighting to save Earth. We were teaching something ancient how to dream. Epilogue. 10 years later. Human civilization had recovered enough to function again.
New cities rose, new governments emerged, new technologies appeared, but some things never returned to normal. Children born after the invasion occasionally described places they had never seen, alien skies, blue oceans beneath black stars, living mountains. The same locations humanity had once witnessed in the dreams. Scientists called it inherited memory, others disagreed, and every year on October 31st, telescopes around the world recorded the same anomaly for exactly 4 minutes. A faint pulse deep beneath Earth's surface, slow, ancient, patient. Not sleeping, not fully awake, waiting. Because somewhere beyond the stars, the sleeper was still watching, and nobody knew whether humanity had earned a reprieve or merely delayed the inevitable. The end.